Welcome to the Heads Together podcast. I'm your host, Jill Mokes, and I am thrilled to bring you another student spotlight. So this week I'm joined by our Coaching Business Academy alumni, Ellie Nova. Ellie is a sober coach. She's a mentor, writer, and a mum who lives in Lewes, East Sussex, which is my kind of neck of the woods from when I was younger. I'm a Kent girl, but spent quite a lot of time in Brighton and Lewes, around that part of the world. It's beautiful. In 2018, Ellie uncovered a radically different approach to quitting drinking. She had spent over a decade feeling trapped by alcohol and feeling full of shame around that. And Ellie has now been sober for over 5 years, and she is on a mission to share this approach and to support other women to discover the true freedom, alcohol-free freedom for themselves. I think you're going to love this conversation with Ellie. I'm going to put some links in the show notes to where you can find Ellie online. She has the most beautiful Substack, and she's also on Instagram, but we're going to put links to that in the show notes. But in the meantime, enjoy this spotlight on one of our amazing coaches from inside the Academy. Welcome to the Heads Together podcast. I'm Jill Mokes, and I am obsessed with cutting through the noise when it comes to growing your business. Each week, via intimate coaching conversations and inspirational stories, I share what it really takes to get the results you want in a way that feels right to you. I am all about attracting higher ticket opportunities, building authentic relationships, and creating the abundant, full-fat version of your dream business. I mean, how many of us have beavered away creating a light version of what we really want? The thing is, I honestly believe when you're outstanding at what you do, there is no limit to what you can achieve. So, are you ready to put our heads together and make it happen? Let's go. Ellie, hi. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh my goodness, it's my pleasure. And life does get in our way sometimes. We've had a few technicality issues with this. So I've been dying to have this conversation with you because this is a topic I find so interesting. And since working with you, I've got to know a bit more about. So obviously you're one of my amazing Academy alumni, and we've been working together on your coaching business. But I wonder if you could start off just by telling everyone a little bit about your coaching niche, the kind of work that you do.
So I'm a sober coach and I work with courageous women who are ready to break free from alcohol for good and create the kind of life that they might only have dreamed of. So people who are really done with alcohol, they know that there's a better life waiting for them, and I help to guide people to get to where they want to be.
Do you know, Ellie, I just love how you describe what you do because you're so confident in who you are and who you serve. And that just fills me up. I just love it. There's no grey areas with you. You work with confident women who know they're done with alcohol for good. You know, it's not a grey area. It's not easy, but it's not a grey area for them or for you. I just love that. How on earth did you get into this niche of coaching? Because obviously, if everyone listening is like me, which they probably are, our gossipy little brains are going, oh my God, how bad was she drinking before? Because that's what we do, right? When everyone talks about sober coaching, we kind of go to extremes. But I'd love to hear your story of how you get into this kind of coaching.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like probably for lots of people with coaching, and when, you know, you're following your heart work, as you might call it, it's through our own wounds and our own experience and our own healing. And that's definitely how I've arrived here. So I used alcohol for over a decade. I, started drinking about 16, just the weekend. I mean, that's our culture, isn't it? That's like the norm.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then things changed once I went to university and started to drink a lot more. And I was drinking to cope with emotional pain that I hadn't been able to heal from. My mother died when I was 14, and I wasn't held, in that grief and with those feelings. And it just kind of everything, you can only hold that for so long, And so alcohol seemed to be a way to help me. But of course it wasn't. And so I kind of had ups and downs with it, but really ended up, although on the outside, my life probably looked fine. And, I had worked in nonprofit. I had a wonderful partner who's now my husband, lots of great things in my life, but I was drinking pretty much every day. It was habitual, and it was how I cope with everything. It's how I, coped with socializing, emotional pain, tiredness, like you name it. So the alcohol was the answer. To be honest, Jill, that I know lots of people, might not identify with that. And because I was drinking a lot, I'm okay to say that I was addicted to alcohol. That's obviously not the case for everybody, but I was in a place where I wanted to quit.
Were you drunk every day?
That's a good question. Probably, maybe not, because I guess my tolerance was pretty high.
I think sometimes people come at it from a standpoint of, well, I don't have a problem with alcohol because I'm not the archetypal alcoholic, someone who's falling down drunk all the time. And I think it's interesting because I would say that my relationship with alcohol is really a love-hate relationship, and you and I have talked, and I'm kind of exploring it myself, thanks to what I've learned really from talking to you. Because I don't think you have to be this typical, or what we think of as typical alcoholic, to be living a life where alcohol is not enhancing it in any way.
No, I think that's the thing, isn't it? One of the reasons that we have this idea of an alcoholic, what comes to mind? You think, oh, that a poor person you think of someone, usually a man on a park bench, who, by the way, is probably in that place because he's had enormous trauma in his life. And that's why he's in that. He's got to that really difficult situation. But if we other people and say, well, that's an alcoholic and I'm not like that, I'm not bad, or, maybe, well, Ellie, I wouldn't drink as much as Ellie, I'm not that bad. We can sort of tell ourselves it's okay. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have to change my drinking, and it makes us feel safe. But the truth is, alcohol is a highly addictive substance to all humans. And of course, not everyone will get addicted, and, everyone has different experiences and brains and so on, but it's still a risk. If you drink it, it's a risk, it's highly addictive. And it's quite unhelpful to think about how bad you have to get, because you don't have to, if like you say, you're realizing, even though we have this culture, which I think is bananas, and when you start to think about it, where drinking a cancer-causing neurotoxin regularly is the norm, when you start to think, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. The World Health Organization has said no amount of alcohol is safe. Any amount you drink is causing you harm. That doesn't mean you have to stop. It's just good to make an informed choice. So I think what is shifting now, which is so beautiful to see, is people like you, Jill, going, oh, so it doesn't have to be this big scary thing where I'm like, oh my God, I'm an alcoholic. And what does that mean? AA for the rest of my life, or the shame that might come with that. It's just, yeah, you know what? I'm drinking more than I want to. I am actually finding it hard to stop. And if you're finding it hard to stop or cut down, that's so normal and so okay.
Yeah.
But I'd really like to take a break or quit completely. And it doesn't have to be scary, and it doesn't have to involve you saying you're an alcoholic. I don't call myself an alcoholic. I say I was addicted to alcohol, but I've now 5.5 years free from it. It doesn't make any sense for me to say I'm an alcoholic. I don't drink or want to drink. Quite the opposite of, being a shameful thing if the people who are looking at their drinking. That's amazing. It's absolutely incredible in a culture that we have this socially sanctioned drug to go, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. What a courageous being you are to be looking at, you've already taken a huge first step if you're starting to question things. So
I love that. And I think that is so true, especially because, and I know this is something that you help your clients with. One of the things for me with drinking alcohol. And I don't drink alcohol every day. I don't even drink alcohol every week, to be quite honest, but I'm a binge drinker. So that means that when I do drink alcohol, I drink way too much and don't have that off switch. And then every time I drink alcohol, I wake up with the beer fear the next day and I feel terrible and I waste the rest of the weekend and yada, yada, yada. I have a love-hate relationship with it, like I say, because at the beginning of the night, I am loving life. And then it goes downhill. Which, then the next day, it's like the worst thing ever. And I'm never doing it again until the next time. And you know what? Part of that is this cultural thing of socializing, socializing and alcohol. It's particularly if you're in a friendship circle where everyone is drinking, everyone else is drinking alcohol. You just use the words, it's a courageous thing. It's a courageous act to actually look at that and think, number one, I'm not sure I want to do that to myself anymore. And number two, who the hell am I if I'm not drinking? Where do I fit in my social circle if I'm sober?
Absolutely. I mean, that human need for belonging and acceptance and connection and friendship is such a human, important, vital need. And it can be really hard to think, well, would I lose those friendships or what would they think of me? And would they invite me out? And how scary is that? And I just want to acknowledge that those needs and those longings are so real and important. And the good news is that quitting alcohol doesn't have to mean, it's the opposite for me. The friendships and connections I have now, my gosh, how much deeper they are than when I was socializing drunk. I had really low self-worth. I didn't think people would like me as I was, just as Ellie. So one of the reasons I drank was because I was like, I can't show up as myself. And I realized one day, Ellie, you're not even giving people a chance. How do you know they won't like the real you? So I had to be incredibly brave and go, I'm going to give it a go. What happens? And this is my whole approach, as you know, Jill, it's all about curiosity. What happens when I go to an event and I don't drink? So you could still go out with your friends. I know it probably seems like we're really, but you probably wouldn't stay out very late, but you could go and go, it's all right. I'm going to have fun, guys. Don't worry. I'm going to have sparkling water or whatever non-alcoholic drink you want to drink. And I'm just going to see what happens. And it probably will be, to begin with, really strange and difficult. I don't want to sugarcoat things here.
Yeah.
But it's also an amazing opportunity, as you say, Jill, to get to know who you are. How am I showing up? What do I really want? What kind of friendships do I really want? Can you spend time with those people as well in settings without alcohol? Could you go for a walk with them? Could you go for coffee? To be honest, sometimes friendships will change when we quit drinking, because if those people find it hard, or you find that they aren't up for doing other activities as well as, clubbing or whatever, then they might change. But I guess it's a point to ask yourself, is that okay? Because maybe in that journey, you might kind of outgrow them and actually find that there are different friends that you want, or you'll strengthen the relationships that you do have because you're having sober conversations with people. You're really being with them, and we talked about this, Jill, the being present, with people and for life. It's this glorious gift of being sober. You get to actually be here. And sometimes that feels anxious. Sometimes you feel sad. You get to be here for all of it and experience the amazing, complex and messy gift of being a human being,
Oh, Ellie, I just love that so much. So part of what you've just said there really, hugely resonates with me. The part you shared about how you didn't feel like people would like you enough if you were just showing up as yourself. I really relate to that, because I think sometimes feel that my friendship group has this certain expectation of me because I'm quite an outgoing person. And probably when I have a drink, I'm even more so. That probably amplifies the way I am. So there's almost there's this persona of me that's the life and soul of the party. And I feel like I'm taking, it makes me sound like super big headed. Like I'm like, oh my God, they're going to be bereft if they lose that. And I don't really mean it like that. But what I mean is, it's like, I know that they really kind of want me to show up. So I almost feel like I'm going to disappoint people if I don't drink. And
Can I just stop you? Because can I ask you, you said, I know that that's how they want me to be. Do you know that?
oh, live
Do you
coaching
know
online
that?
right here and now on the Heads Together podcast. I love it. And of course I don't, do I? I don't. The part I do know is the nagging, oh, go on, don't not drink, don't drive, get a taxi. I know that part. But
Yep.
if I were to make that decision and show up sober and stay sober, do I know how they would react to that? No, because I've never given that a chance. Just like you said, never given it a chance. So that's really, really interesting. But you know what? Since I've talked to you about this, next weekend we've got some friends coming round, and these are friends that we always end up having a drink with. They drink alcohol the same as we do, and the four of us will always tend to share a few bottles of wine. They're coming round, and we've all agreed that we are going to do a sober games night at the weekend.
Cool.
So this is something really different. Some people listening are probably thinking, oh my God, I never knew she drank that much. But you know what? This is the truth, isn't it? This is the real talk about how you don't have to have, and I'm using air quotes, which is never good on a podcast, but you don't have to have what other people might perceive as a problem with alcohol. It's how you feel about it, isn't it, that makes it a problem
100%.
or not a problem.
And it's so interesting how when you start to look at this, and this is what's so key about this working all of these beliefs. So the things that we just take as, so you're like, oh no, people want me to be fun, so I have to drink, and just going, well, is that true? And then alcohol makes me the fun one. Is that true? So it's looking at all these beliefs and just questioning, is that true? And then having these experiences, like how amazing, you're having these games night. That sounds amazing. That sounds like my idea of fun time. You're having a games night and just seeing, do I have fun? Do I have connection without alcohol? Am I still a fun person? Do people like hanging out with me? And as you have these experiences, your own lived experience will show you the truth and the reality. And that's what helps to change your brain, that the conscious questioning of beliefs, and then the really trying it out in real life, being curious and noticing what happens. It's all about being curious. It's not about, abstinence and perfectionism. It's just trying things out, noticing what's true, and kind of slowly moving towards that life that you really want and the way you really want to show up in the world.
Oh, Ellie, I love the way you describe this act of being curious. Just be curious and experiment, I guess, is what we're saying, isn't it? See what happens. I really, really love that. Thinking about other work that you do with your clients around this, what are the other challenges that people come up against when alcohol really isn't their friend, and they've realized that they're kind of done, they'd want a different life? What are the other challenges that you see come up a lot?
Yeah. So one of the big ones, I think, is for people to learn to be with their feelings. So this is a really big one. And it's unfortunately, again, in our culture, not something that we're really taught. To be honest, we're kind of taught the opposite. A lot of us, you can be happy and that's kind of about it. So often we learn that because of the responses of, our caregivers and the adults in our life, a lot of our emotions are not okay to express and they're not okay to feel. So, of course, we do things like turn to alcohol when we feel things like grief or sadness or shame, the hard stuff to feel, especially. We turn to alcohol. So when we take away alcohol, this is the really big, deep work of going, right, how do I take care of myself when I'm feeling big emotions? How do I lovingly take care of myself? I can't numb out anymore. I can't have the drink. What do I need to do? And it's so important that you build around that practices and tools. And a client the other day had this beautiful term for it. She called it a soothing menu. So writing down, what can I do instead of drink? What do I need to do to take care of myself? Yeah, I thought that was so lovely. I mean, I sometimes call it a sober toolkit, but yeah, isn't that nice?
Beautiful.
So having and this would be unique to every person. What do I need? When I'm feeling sad, what do I need? There's so many things in the moment. I often give myself a hug. Wrap your arms around yourself and squeeze yourself. Give yourself compassion. Say, this is really hard. I'm feeling a lot of pain. You know, it might be going for a walk and community and connection, calling a friend, asking someone for a hug, you know, and it might be sober community as well. We're not meant to be alone. We're not meant to cope with the challenges of life alone. And we unfortunately have a culture that's now so individualistic in the West. But we need community, we need connection, we need care, comfort, support. You know, this is okay if you need these things. But it's when you remove alcohol, you then really need to learn how to take care of yourself and how to connect to others and reach out when you need more support.
That can be a really hard thing for all of us, I think, reaching out and just asking for help. I know with myself, often if I'm dealing with heightened emotion, I tend to eat my feelings as well. So for me, it's not alcohol that's the go-to in terms of feelings. For me, it's food, sugar, you know, and learning to find other ways to self-soothe that don't involve eating, and particularly sugar, can be really difficult. And one of the things that I've been practicing is allowing myself silence, because I've realized that something I do is, if I'm trying to drown out an emotion, I will literally drown out that emotion with a podcast, a radio, music, a masterclass on the computer, a conversation. It's almost like anything to avoid listening to my own thoughts. And I've realized that actually it doesn't serve me. Sometimes when I'm feeling an emotion, I feel it come on. Instead of turning up the volume on something external, I'm learning now that I can just sit in some silence and allow it to wash over me.
I relate. I used to do that, and I probably still do, to be honest. The drowning out, it's distraction, isn't it? It's, I don't want to feel this. I need to distract myself. And it's, we all have our things. And I really want to just say as well, Jill, it's amazing. Like, thank you for your amazing honesty and vulnerability that we're in this conversation. And I keep feeling just so moved because it's all okay. Like, I just want to say that whatever you're thinking, if it's food, if it's distraction, if it's alcohol, it's okay. Like, you're trying to help yourself. That is what you think is helping. Of course, you're innocent. There's an innocent part of you that says, this will make me feel better. Of course, that's okay. But what you're doing, Jill, what's really amazing when you allow yourself that silence, and this is really key, is you're actually listening to that part that wants to be heard. You're giving it some space. You're not saying, no, be quiet. I don't want to hear you. You're going, okay. Oh, it can be really hard. You're here. I understand. You want to say something. Okay. And that part might be saying, have a drink or go and eat something. That is also an innocent part. You can say, yes, thank you. You're trying to help. I'm not going to do that right now. I really appreciate you being here. I'm going to do something else. And it's showing it love, showing it you're listening, setting a boundary. I'm not going to do that thing, but thank you. And it will be off the time sort of relax, knowing it feels heard. And the same with any emotion. You'll notice that the urge to go, I'm going to need to listen to something. I don't want to be with this. In that silence, I wonder if you can ask your body, okay, what's here right now? What would you like to say to me? What would you like to tell me? And just saying hello to it and just allowing it to be as it is, not trying to change it, just going, okay, you're here and you belong.
Wow. You know, what came up for me when you were saying that, Ellie, is what a difference that is compared to the way that certainly and I'm sure lots of people listening, talk to themselves. I don't talk to myself with that level of compassion. I say things like, oh, for God's sake, don't be so bloody greedy. Or, oh, why'd you have to get so drunk and loud? What? And then wake up the next day hating yourself. Or, you know, I just tell myself off all the time.
Yeah.
And listening to you almost role play that beautiful, caring way, compassionate way that we can learn how to talk to ourselves. I can honestly see how transformational that would be if we learn. And these are skills that we don't have automatically, do we? I don't think, you know, unless you do this work. And it is something that you get to practice.
And I think that's the thing, as you were saying, Jill, this isn't something we're taught, and it does take practice. It really does. And it does take time. I mean, when I was, 21, this idea of talking kindly to yourself, I was like, what are you even, what does that even, what do you mean? I must have had a tiny, teeny little little beautiful little voice in me going, hey, you're okay, Ellie, you're okay. But it did take a long, long time of practice, remembering and forgetting. Even if you know what, one of the things me and my husband talk about is it can be comforting even just to know that it is possible to talk to yourself in a compassionate way, even if in the moment it's like, you know what, it's not happening for me. Just knowing it is possible for someone, it is possible for me to talk to myself in compassion. That can actually, even that can bring comfort in that moment. And so this is all little small steps and just so much gentleness and softness, and even that inner critic, that harsh voice that talks to us, which I've heard advice in the past, which doesn't make sense to me, where people say, tell that part of you to F off and just tell it to shut up. And the reason that doesn't work,
I don't relate to that at all.
No. And why don't you, Jill? Tell me why you don't relate to it.
The reason I don't relate to that is almost like you're setting up that cycle again then. You're setting up this combative way of talking to each other. You're stupid. Why are you so greedy? Shut up. Why are you calling yourself greedy?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me at all.
Exactly. And it's so important also, that part of you saying, oh, you're so greedy. It is still a part of you. And the path to real wholeness or self-acceptance and love is accepting all parts of ourselves, even the ones, especially the ones that are the hardest to love and the hardest to be with, and the parts that we kind of wish weren't there. So that part of you that's saying, oh, you're so greedy, it's trying to help. It's trying to keep you safe. It's doing it in the best way it knows how. It's trying to help. And it's a really interesting practice to notice what happens when you turn towards that part and go, I get it, you're trying to help me. It's probably scared. That's what I often find when I turn towards that really critical part and I go, okay, you know what, I'm going to listen to you. It's often really scared for me, and it is really trying to help. And sometimes the really funny thing that sometimes happens to me is I turn to it and I go, okay, you have something to say. I get it.
I'm listening.
What would you like to say? And often it kind of goes, oh, okay. Oh, well, all right. Nothing, I guess. And it kind of just like leaves me because it was yelling at me. And then when I'm like, all right, what do you want to say? It might sound weird to people, but all I'd say is give it a try. Just see what happens when you, even the critical parts,
Absolutely.
accept them and love them and say, okay, you can come and have a seat at the table, and I get why you're here.
I'd love you to tell us a bit more about your coaching, because you have such a beautiful, beautiful way of talking about this topic in a way that just makes it feel okay. It makes everything feel okay. And I don't know if that's because you have such a lovely tone to the way you talk anyway. But it's really comforting. I can only imagine, like, as your client, it must feel amazing to have someone to be able to work with. You and I, we're both coaches. We know how incredible it feels to be held in that kind of space. So can you tell us a bit more about what working with you looks like?
Obviously, I've been there. I get it. I mean, everyone's journey, of course, is different, but I will never judge anybody. People sometimes share things with me that people might be judgmental of, and all I feel is compassion. And it's like, yeah, of course you did that. That's okay. So of course, I hope that people, just from knowing that I've been there, and I just hold people with so much compassion, and I hope that that's what they feel. And that's what I really want for my clients as well, to just start to take those really gentle steps to seeing if they can bring themselves compassion as well. I wish there was a different word in our language for mistakes, because if you're on the path to quitting alcohol, it's probably not going to be linear and it's not going to be overnight.
Right.
So when you do drink, it's not a relapse. Like I say, it's not a mistake. It's an opportunity to learn. So I'm never, if someone, comes to me and that somebody like, oh, I was worried, Ellie, I drank. It's like, that's okay. Okay, brilliant. Let's have a look at this. What was going on for you? What do you think you were feeling and needing? What was the trigger? What can you do next time to support yourself? And just to really try to bring yourself so much forgiveness and compassion, because these are actually kind of necessary steps in the process of changing our brains. which is what we're doing. When you're changing a habit, recovering from addiction, it's this amazing thing, neuroplasticity, that our brains do, where yes, okay, you form that habit, you form that attachment, you can change your brain. I mean, I'm living proof of that. So I know it works. It 100% works. So we're going to change our brains. That does not happen overnight. If you think about how many times we drink and tell ourselves this is the answer, it's going to take a few repetitions. And it's probably going to take a few times of drinking again and then going, no, it's not doing what I thought it did. What was happening to me then? So that's a big part of it. It's really kind of embracing those points to learn. As long as you keep going and you keep that commitment, you'll get to the goal. The path is going to be rocky and you're going to fall down a bit. As long as you keep getting up and you don't give up, you'll get there. And of course, a big part of my role is being a cheerleader, just cheering people on. Nobody is broken or has anything wrong with them that needs to be fixed. Of course, people are like, I want to stop drinking. Yeah. And it makes sense. You've been drinking and now you want to change, and you can make a change and you're going to get there. And, you know, the people who use alcohol or any addiction, they're, of course, like every human, they're the most beautiful, gorgeous, incredible, often so motivated, inspiring, wonderful people. And they have this thing that they want to change. You know, it's not the whole of them, it's a part. And I just wholeheartedly believe it's possible. I respect everybody's individual journey. So it's, my coaching obviously is very individualized to each client. And I really love that, actually. I have a plan. And sometimes like, okay, the plan's going out the window. This person needs something really different.
Ellie, how can people learn more about you if this is something they've heard this podcast and they're thinking, you know what, I would really like to explore this. I would really like maybe a conversation, or I'd like to maybe experience a bit of Ellie magic. Where can they go to do that?
Yes. So the best place is probably my website, which is ellie-nova.com. So, and on that you can book a discovery call with me. So you can have a chat with me live. There are several links on the website. And I just love these conversations. And there's never any pressure. I genuinely love these conversations. Like I love this one I'm having with you, Jill. People can find me on Substack, as you know, Jill. I share lots and lots of, I hope, very useful content about everything we've been talking about, self-compassion and supportive practices, and also a lot about the myths around alcohol and what it really does to our bodies and our brains. So if you go to, I think it's Ellie Nova .substack.com, and if you search me on Substack, and it's linked on my website as well. I'm also on Instagram if you're into that, Ellie Nova Coaching. I do little videos on there.
And I also know that you have a very special event coming up as well. Am I right in saying this is a free event for people who want to come and find out a bit more? Because it's about the topic that we were talking about, isn't it? It's about socializing sober.
So that's Tuesday the 20th of May, free online workshop at 12 midday. So hopefully you can come on your lunch break. And totally free, with me and Jenny from the Sober Living Guide. And we'll be diving further into, you know, the really practical things as well about socializing sober, how you can support yourself and just find joy in sober socializing so it doesn't have to be scary. And I'm testament to it. It's the best way to socialize.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put a link in the show notes to that as well. So if that is something that interests you, when we were talking about that, I just have this feeling that this will resonate with so many people, the whole socializing sober thing, feeling like that's a bit of a barrier. So I really urge you, sign up for Ellie's workshop. I'm definitely going to. So thank you, Ellie. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like I may have slightly turned it into a personalized coaching session for myself, but it's my podcast, so I don't care.
No, it's great, Jill. It's great. Thank you so much, Jill. It's been really wonderful.
It's been good to have you. Thanks. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I will see you back here again, same time, same place next week. Please go to the show notes, find all those links, have a look around, explore ways you can work with Ellie, but also that free workshop. I've been to one of Ellie's workshops before. She delivers so much value. So do that. Go and sign up for that if this is a topic that interests you. Okay. Bye, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that getting our heads together this week has filled your mind with what's possible. If you love the show, would you do me a massive favour, please? Would you leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts It would really help you put more heads together, reach more ears, and expand more minds. Until next week, bye for now.